Good morning. This is Kat with Kat's Home Chat, and happy Friday and happy holiday weekend to everyone. Hope you're going to be safe and have fun too. Um, our topic today is how to take your backyard paradise into the next level. And this is the topic that's close to me because if you have pets with paws, whatever kind of pets, and we recently adopted two Aussie Doodles for companions. These are 50 pounds apiece to our two smaller dogs. So we have lots of paws. And we met up with my guest, and we are actually going to have his product installed to help eliminate all of those dirty paws cleaning up and all the time we would have wasted cleaning up paws, especially with Houstonians, what I call bipolar weather and lots of rain, right?
Yes, no doubt.
So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Dan Hoffman of the Woodlands Center. Is that
the Woodlands
right?
Grass?
The Woodlands Grass. I'm sorry. We have a landscaper that's wood lawns. The Woodlands Grass.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a whole new level of grass. If you've looked at faux, I call it faux, coming from the staging and design world. If you've looked at faux grass in the past, you might go, it's okay for golf courses, or, they have to pay a fortune, or no, it looks too plasticky. Not. They have come kind of like, I look at what they've done with luxury vinyl plank, hardwood.
Great analogy.
You can't even tell. So hopefully, I don't want to put you on the spot, Dan, but hopefully you have a couple samples you can
sure do. But
okay, not right away.
Reach.
But yeah, if it takes you a minute to get it, because I'd love for you to hold a couple of.
Let me go get it real quick.
Okay, so while Dan's getting his samples, stay tuned. If you can't watch the whole episode, we try to keep it about 30 minutes. You can watch it on the replay, and we also post it to our YouTube channel, Ta-da by Kat, within about 48 hours. You can watch previous episodes. I believe this is episode 49, and we're almost at 50. Who wants to be my 50th guest? We've had a couple. We did a replay last week. I think Kevin. Hey, Kevin, if you're watching, Jeff really wanted to play yours again. He finds you so entertaining. But Kevin Tane, also having been seen on Flip or Flop, HGTV, et cetera. Plug for you, Kev. But I'd love to do another outdoors. We had Josh, who does amazing stuff to beautify and green your real lawns and flowers, et cetera. So I'd love to have someone as my 50th guest, something to do with exterior. It could be painting. It could be concrete. It could be anything. I mean, who would think I would be having faux lawns? But we are personally going to have our whole side yard. We have a very large pie-shaped yard. We're going to have it gated off, and we're going to have this product of Dan's, and I can hardly wait. So without further ado, Dan, don't show them yet.
Okay.
We'll keep it as a surprise.
All right.
Dan, tell us, welcome so much, and thank you so much for carving out time today, because I know you're super busy in the Woodlands and surrounding areas talking to folks. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed with Dan when he came out because has a passion like I do for staging and design. He has a passion for what he does, and you can tell. And I just thought, hey, he would be a perfect guest on my show.
Thank you for having me, Kat.
Yeah. So Dan, tell us a little about you. Give us a little, like how did you get into this business?
So, Kat, I've actually been in the flooring business for 25 years and have my flooring company as well. But the artificial turf in the last 7-8 years, especially, the technology has come to such that, in my opinion, is so much greater than what it was before. Basically just plastic glued on top of plastic, you know, it didn't really have any kind of look or depth to it. And when that did start happening in that time frame, I realized the quality of the product and something that they've been using on the West Coast for a long time due to water issues, but which is a huge benefit, obviously, but to turf is the lack of water needed. But in the last 7 or 8 years, the technology has come to such that it looks so wonderful and still is a reasonable priced option for when you add all of the benefits that it gives you.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the benefits, or however you want to couch it, pros and cons, or the benefits of using your product.
You bet. So first off, obviously, water is not getting cheaper here or anywhere. Or the availability of it. So that's one huge benefit, that you're going to see a drastic change in your water bill, which is a huge benefit. You know, obviously the lack of maintenance that's needed. Really, all you're talking about doing is blowing your turf off if leaves fall on it or pine needles fall on it. So you're just that is your maintenance, and it's very, very limited, and that's year round.
Yes, I'm looking forward to a lowered monthly maintenance on mowing. I don't know how much.
Yes, you should get that for sure, because that in your situation, they'll only be taking care of the front yard or just blowing off the backyard. So
right.
You know, the other benefits and huge benefits that I see after talking to customers after the fact is something that you kind of hit on, but it's honestly not the most common thing I hear, but you had hit on it, is how much cleaner, if you have dogs or kids, how much cleaner your house is going to be and stay on the inside, because they're not bringing all of that in from the outside.
Well, for all you, and I just want to, again, a shout out, and maybe they just haven't thought about it yet. If you have pets and you haven't thought about it, pets that you keep inside, we've had 2 to 5 dogs.
Yeah.
So in various, ages, unfortunately we lost 3 geriatric dogs last year, but we're up to 4 dogs now. So we just keep inheriting them. But anyway, if you have dogs, or pets, any 4-legged creatures that you like to go outside, but they're an inside dog, you're not, I'll tell you honestly, our Sadie, who's in doggy heaven, when I got her, we got her like at the pound, and they said she was mixed with Great Pyrenees. So I'm doing research on, 180-pound lumbering dog, thinking, she's going to get that big, as opposed to take after the lab part of her. Well, she ended up not being more than 45 pounds. But in my naivete coming from Southern California, we purchased like a big chain linked, big, like dog kennel, if you would, on the side of our yard.
Yeah.
Thinking she was going to live out there. I didn't really know Texas very well.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no. She's not living out there. It's too hot.
Yes,
too wet, or, we just have too much weather. It's not like Southern California. So that quickly, went away. So if you've got pets, struggle like we have, especially just adopting our 2 Aussie doodles. Their brother and sister, siblings, and 50 pounds of paws that are like this, and I don't think they've stopped growing.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be a game changer. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, no, you're going to notice a huge difference on the inside. Another thing you're going to realize is how much more you're going to want to be in your backyard. A lot of people don't realize. If there's something to be done in your backyard, it's very difficult to get out there and enjoy your backyard when I got to have this, I got to do this, I got to get this done, instead of just going out and enjoying your area.
Wow, that's a huge thing, Dan. Yeah. Really, I've recently been, toying or not toying, but dabbling in growing herbs on raised containers that have lids, because I don't want the squirrels. We have a lot of squirrels here getting them. And also just adding plants, and I love tooling out there doing that. It's therapeutic. But if I had to, when I go out there and look at the bare spots, which I'm not going to see anymore on that
That's
side,
right.
the right side of my lot, and thinking, oh God, do we need to get sod for out there? And
You spend a lot of time thinking about those things and you don't even realize it.
Yeah. And like you said, it just frees up it gives you that peace of mind and that time and that relaxation to really enjoy your backyard.
Yeah. So, on top of that, Kat, one more huge benefit that you're going to notice and enjoy about your backyard, and it's huge here in Houston, is that you're going to be able to get out and enjoy your backyard without as much of a problem of the mosquitoes or the ants. For example, the mosquitoes, they need a place where there's water to nest and bed. Well, if your turf doesn't have any low-lying areas, which installed properly, it should not. It should drain off within a matter of an hour and a half after rain. With that being said, the mosquitoes don't have a place to nest near you. They're going to go elsewhere. Also,
wow, that's huge. Jeff's gonna love that, because right now he puts on all this clothing to take out. He has to hand walk our doodles right now because they're so big, they're jumping around too much, and they need to heal. And they bite. They love his blood. They used to love mine. They've gone to his now. They love his blood, whatever he's doing. So if you're listening, Jeff, and I know you are, you'll like that, because there won't be as many water puddles.
That's exactly right. As well as the infill that we put in the turf. It's an antimicrobial infill, and we can talk more about that when you're ready. But which is part of the install, the last step of the install. The ants don't like that antimicrobial infill. So that's another thing. The ants don't have a place where they want to be. So they'll go elsewhere as well. Wonderful. So there's so many different benefits, and we just hit on most of them. Right there.
Let's go into, because I want to make sure we have time to cover, and this is where maybe you can show your samples. I'd like you to kind of just touch on what the materials made out of today, what it was, how it was improved, what's it made out of yesterday. And I know, because I've gone through the selection process, like anything, like us, we have Wow Me packages and what we call Wow Me Light packages, or add-on options. So we picked, I think, the middle of the road, or maybe one up on the level of the grass. But talk to us about, in whatever order you'd like, the differences between what it was, what it is now, what's the material made out of, and then maybe we can go into the process, and like you talked about the infill, I'd like to know about the whole, like the step-by-step, here's the steps that we take to install.
So the differences between where turf has really made some huge gains is the construction of the turf. Used to the grass portion of the turf was just glued to the backing itself. Now you can actually see the thread in there. You can see where the turf is actually the top of the turf, the green, and all you see is actually sewn in to the backing and made as part of the backing, which gives that difference between something that's going to last you, 4 or 5 years to something that's going to last you 15 years.
So is that, only because I know a little bit about sewing, is that one line down each row, or is it one line this way and then also a line this way?
It's one line down each row.
Down each row.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is that nylon? Is that nylon thread? I imagine, not cotton.
No, it's polypropylene. Polypropylene is the material that's used to make it. You did bring up a good point when you said nylon. However, nylon is about 3 times the cost of what this turf is. They do make a nylon turf. It's used in very high heat situations. For example, if we were going to install on the side of on top of a building downtown, which we've done before, and they have a reflection coming off of the glass of the building next door, which is going to keep that turf a lot hotter than what it should be. It could melt this.
Okay, wait a minute. As a designer, I need to hear. Who did you do grass on the side of a building for? That sounds really cool.
Trying to remember. It's not on the side of a building. It's on the top of the building. It's a roof downtown.
Oh, a roof. Oh, okay. Okay, very cool.
Trying to remember which building it was.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Don't recall. It was probably 2 years.
But I thought it was the side. The top, that makes sense.
Yeah,
the side, I'm like, okay, now we're, because Cat's Eye and Decor does custom biophilic or preserved moss
We do some of that as well at some restaurants on some commercial work where it's an ivy looking faux ivy material that we put along walls at restaurants as well.
Oh,
so that
okay.
sounds similar to what you're talking about.
Very cool. So talk to us about, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to know, polypropylene. Does it have off gases? Is it dangerous to your pets or for me to breathe?
It is not. All of this is safe. As a matter of fact, even the infill that we're going to talk about is safe for kids and for pets. So everything we're talking about is safe and not going to be an issue as far as that goes.
Awesome.
Is in regards to the construction of the turf, which we were talking about.
Yes.
You're going to, in the past, basically your turf was just green. And I don't know how much you can see in this.
Yeah, no, you can see that really
if you'll
good.
notice in this one, we actually have some brown in the grass as well, which down inside, which is called brown, is the thatch in the turf. I'm going to see if you can see that.
Yep. Isn't that the one we picked that has a little bit of brown in it?
It is. That's exactly right. It's our all seasons is what it's called. And it's made to look more like the St. Augustine grass that we have around here, which is has some dead brown in it all the time.
It looks more real. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very real. Very, very real. As far as the construction of it or the warranty on it, let's talk about the warranty on it because in the past, that was a huge part of the problem was that it was something that wasn't lasting as long as people were actually spending the money to have.
Especially if it was glued back then.
Absolutely, which you can imagine here in our heat. That's not a good thing either.
Yeah.
But the warranties are a 15-year warranty. The life expectancy is 20 to 25, which is, that's a long time for. But the warranty covers that the UV is not going to fade it, that pet urine is not going to fade it, guaranteed to not pull away from the backing itself, what's on it, pulling away from the backing.
Wow.
And those are the biggest.
Those are the three huge ones. So let's, again, my own personal situation. Let's talk about what do you recommend from a pet standpoint? Like how often and what should you use to, get the pet urine off?
So, okay, let's talk about the install, Kat, and then at that point that I can explain.
Segue into there.
It'll be better and easier to understand.
Perfect.
So when we go to install this artificial turf, we go in and we pull out what's existing. A lot of times that's grass. A lot of times people can't grow grass because in the woodlands, for example, you got a lot of trees. So maybe it's dirt, maybe it's gravel, what have you. That's part of the install for us to come in there and take that whatever's existing out and either repurpose it at your home somewhere or get rid of it, whichever you decide. A lot of times if people have gravel or something like that, they'd want it repurposed on the spot or something. Or we'll haul off whatever it is. Okay. Then we come back in and we cap your sprinklers because you won't be needing your sprinklers anymore. So instead of affecting all of your zones, we just take the head off of the sprinkler and then cap it underground so it's not affecting everything else. Dan,
this is other people might have this question also, maybe if they're considering it, and I think you answered it for me, but just if you could reiterate, like we have a couple of large trees that we've had recently landscaped. And you'll be able to reposition the sprinklers that would have gone on the grass over to that flower bed, correct?
Good point, Kat, because a lot of times that's something that has to happen. So so let's say that you have a sprinkler that's next to a tree, but it's 10 feet away from a tree. We cannot go straight up to the tree with the turf. You have to leave a drip line so your tree is getting enough water. So when we leave that drip line, if we have a sprinkler that we can move over to that area and put next to the tree within the bed that we put around the tree to keep the drip line open, that is the way to go about doing that. So and we would do that included in our price would be to come in there and move a sprinkler from one, usually it's within 3 feet to an area to where it's within a bed to where your tree is still getting the moisture that it needs.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for answering that.
Yeah. After we do cap the sprinklers or move any sprinklers that we need to move, we then bring in an edging material. That's where we edge around the trees and we edge along the fence lines. That's for multiple reasons. To hold our granite base that I'm about to talk about in place, because what we do is we bring that granite in and compact it and slope it for your drainage. So your drainage is right before we can put the turf in, but I'll get right back to that. Okay. But the edging material needs to go up along the fence line and around the trees and around any beds. That's multiple reasons for that. It holds my granite base in place. It also keeps your neighbor's St. Augustine grass that likes to grow horizontal from growing into your turf.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Also,
okay. I have a little side question for that.
Yeah.
And again, this is on my yard. As you know, we had a number of years ago, and we just had it refreshed. We have bullnose all along the entire perimeter of our 11,000 square foot lot.
Yes.
So the side you're doing has that. Would you stop at the bullnose, or would you take the bullnose out so that it didn't creep over? I'm not
familiar with the bullnose that you're talking about. It's an edging?
Well, not bullnose. Maybe it's called, it's those big rocks that they use here in Texas.
Just like a decorative rock that goes around the
bull rock, or what are they
bull
called?
rock. Okay.
Bull rock, not bullnose. Yeah. That's an edging. bull rock. Yeah, bull rock.
Yeah. So your question again, Kat?
So I don't recall that we talked about it. So in respect to the grass possibly creeping over and going into the faux turf, so we've got maybe a 18-inch perimeter of bull rock. What would you do? Would you remove the bull rock?
We would, and I'm trying to recall. I'll have to look at your notes because your husband and I did talk about this. But we can either leave that rock there and put your edging up, inside the rock bed. Or we can go all the way to the fence and remove the rock bed. We can do it either way to answer your question. Okay. It's not necessary anymore.
I prefer to leave it, because I like the look and we just refresh it.
I think that's what we talked about, Kat. I'm pretty sure.
As long as it wouldn't, maybe with him, as long as it wouldn't jeopardize possibly our neighbor's stuff growing over.
No, we can do it either way. We can do it either way. I want to say that we did say we were going to leave that rock bed for aesthetic
purposes. That's what I would think. Yeah.
So then that edging material that I was talking about,
would come at the edge of the rock.
It's exactly right. Then that holds my granite in place, and also it's going to keep your neighbors from anything from getting into your turf at that point. So then after we get that edging material down, the next thing we would do is to come in. And by the way, we bring in the decomposed granite. I don't know if you're familiar. Decomposed granite, similar to crushed granite. It's rock granite material, but almost pulverized. But what you see on a jogging track is crushed granite. You get some big pieces still in that. What we bring in is decomposed granite, which is it's like the crushed granite, but it's got more fines in it. And the reason for that is because we bring that in lifts and compact it with a plate compactor. With your slope in mind for drainage. So that's how we get your drainage right and proper before we even get your turf in. By the way, we give a 2-year labor warranty that guarantees proper drainage. Industry standards 1 year. So you're getting twice what you would typically get in the business.
And why is it only 2 years? Is that because nature?
Yes, acts of God. And we get our share around here,
That's the truth.
But like I said, we give twice what the industry standard is, and the reason it is a year is because there's so many things that can change your drainage in this situation that we live in. Tropical storms. Sure.
Well, you guys been doing this for a minute. How long has the Woodlands Grass been around?
Been around for 8 years. Initially, when we got started, it was more of a commercial projects we were working on. It's funny how it's come along, because once people start seeing it in their kids' playgrounds, their kids' sport fields, their churches, and all of this, then they start going, why can't I have this at my house? Well, that's funny. That's how it's happened. We've been putting it in restaurants and all over the place. People are seeing it when they're out and about. And it's come to now where people are like, oh, I should be able to do this in my house. Why can't I? And
Absolutely.
so now it's kind of,
it's like my business started the other way, did residential, and now we're doing a lot of commercial.
Isn't it funny how that
Obviously,
happens?
residents own businesses.
That's exactly right. Right. Yes.
So when does the underlayment, or I don't want to
I
stick around
stopped short on the install. So what we would do is at that point, after we get the granite in and everything's compacted and sloped and everything for drainage, we have a heavy duty weed block that is also a moisture wicking material that helps keep the backing of the turf dry. The turf, the backing is the most important part. So once your backing deteriorates, the rest of the turf deteriorates. So it's important to keep that as dry as possible. It's going to last even without, that's an extra step that we use that a lot of people do not use. But it's something that you're going to see past your warranty, not up to your warranty, as far as the benefit of the moisture wicking weed block that we put behind it.
And is that some sort of
similar to a weed block that you see it used?
Like in flower beds.
Yes, but it's made of a different material that's going to allow for the backing to stay drier once everything drains off of it. So then after we have that moisture barrier weed block go down, then what goes down is the turf itself. It rolls out. It's on a 15-foot wide roll. You roll the turf out, seam it where you need to. Our guys do this every day. You do not know where the seams are. I've cleaned up some jobs, Kat, where it was ugly and you can see the seams.
Kidding.
So, make sure you.
What do they say? It's the devil's in the details. So, again,
right.
having a little seamstress background, what do you seam it with?
We actually seam it with a seaming tape like you use for carpet. In some situations, we seam it with the actual staples that pull it together, the 6-inch staples that go through the top of the turf that hold it in. So it depends on the situation. It's either a seaming tape or it's staples that hold it in and seam it in.
So the seaming tape, do you use that in Houston? Is that not an issue when we have 100+ degrees?
No, if you use the correct tape, it's a 3M product. It's definitely, you don't want to cut a corner, and that's where some people do. Yeah. And maybe that's even something worth talking about is, people understanding and knowing what a good turf company is and a bad one, because there's some bad ones that cut the corners.
Yeah, it's like cutting corners. It might look like it, but it's not. It's all in that preparation.
The prep is the biggest part. You're exactly right. For example, Kat, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
For example, there's a lot of people out there and messes that we've cleaned up where they've cut the corners that are major, such as using limestone as your base instead of decomposed granite. One's more expensive than the other, but that's where they can cut a corner. You can imagine a compacted granite underneath is going to feel a lot better underfoot than a bunch of limestone that can't be compacted. It feels like you're walking on a rock bed. Other things are, skipping out on the infill, which we hadn't got to yet, and not putting the antimicrobial in the infill.
So let's talk about that, because we're kind of getting close to the hour here, and I want to stay within 5 minutes for folks. So, but that's rewatch this if you need to. I mean, I'm already hearing, and anytime someone extends their warranty, it tells me, okay, they're not cutting corners. They're paying a little. They're not going to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
They're going to do it right because they're going to use the 3M product. They're going to use the granite instead of the limestone. These are just a couple of the things that, make a superior product.
Not only that, Kat, the labor itself. For example, there are plenty of my competitors that use my guys work for us. They work for the Woodlands Grass, and they work for us every day doing the same thing, installing turf and getting better.
They're not off the street.
They're not, exactly. And there's plenty of our competition that we've cleaned up messes for that come to find out it was a guy that was doing the fence the day before, and now he's installing turf for him. So you're actually with us getting people who are turf specialists and do this every day with a foreman on the job at all times that can be communicated with. I
love it. Quality, and that's what we espouse here, and sharing with our home dwellers and homeowners is to be educated, make an informed decision.
Absolutely.
If maybe you're doing a flip or something and you don't want to do sod and you just want to throw up some cheap turf, well, then, maybe you don't want to go with the best and most expensive, but if this is your space, your place, and you want longevity, it's worth paying a little bit more to get quality.
And get it done right. That's exactly right.
And get it done right instead of, because you're going to end up paying to have it fixed by you later.
I've done it. Yeah. Yes.
So let's talk about, if we could segue real quick to the underlayment piece.
Mm-hmm. So the infill, is that what you're talking about?
Or the infill?
Yeah. So the very last step of the process, once we seam everything and put everything down and in place, we have a power broom machine that brushes the turf up into place. And then we drop in the top of it, and then it filters down to the top of the backing, a silica sand mixture that's mixed with Durafil, which is an antimicrobial granule. And so we mix that together and we drop that in the top of it. So and the way that works is when your dog will go on it, urinate on it, poo, you would pick up the biggest parts, the little bit that gets down in there, the dead leaves, the bugs from, whatever, get down into the turf and into the infill. Then when we get rain, which typically we get enough rain here. I know it's a little different from where you were at in California. We typically get enough rain here that it's going to activate this antimicrobial once or twice, every week, to where in California it's not the case. But even if you put a sprinkler on it and activated it that way, what happens is the water or rain will activate the antimicrobial in your infill. Then it starts working on cleaning all of that pet urine that's in the infill and little bits of poo or what have you, dead bugs, before it gets out through the holes, the evacuation holes that are on the back of the turf. So it's almost like an old coffee filter type system, to where you have your filtering product in the bottom here. It filters and cleans before it gets out the back, which is important because that's what keeps your smells down. So if it's not cleaned and it just filters through the pet urine and all that, it's just going to sit underneath the turf, not cleaned. And then you're going to start smelling pet odors, things like that, to where mildew, those kinds of things, to where it's not. In the past, that's what turf did, and there was nothing you could do about it. Now, this is the fix to keep it smelling fresh and clean. Now, that's something that you're going to have to, over a long period of time, in your situation, 10 years down the road, maybe even a little more, before you start smelling any pet odors or anything like that. And at that point, that's when you want to have somebody come out, suck out that old infill, and put new infill in. For example, my pet resorts, we do this because they have multiple dogs on them.
Sure.
We would do this every 5 years approximately, because it's so many more dogs. But in a situation where you have even 4 or 5 dogs at your house, that's not enough to, be feeling like you're going to have to do it sooner than that 10 years. But you'll know when you smell it. But it's,
now, Dan, is this is great. Great to know that that's built in as an adjunct to that. Should the homeowner still hose off, or is that not overkill?
If we went through a drought, which we did it's probably more like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, where we didn't get near as much rain as we normally do. If we didn't get rain in a couple of weeks or even 3 weeks, then you may want to get out there and just water it down. Also, to cool the turf off. The only, in my opinion, downside to turf is that it is warmer than what our grass is. It doesn't have the moisture in it that our grass does. And our minds kind of tell us, okay, well, for 40 plus years, I've been walking onto grass and this is what it's supposed to feel like. Well, it's not going to. It's going to be warmer than what grass is.
Because of the material that it's made
Yes,
of.
exactly. Yeah. Now, the way to take care of that, if you wanted to spray it down, that infill is going to suck up the moisture and then evaporate it out over a couple of days' time, and that will cool it off for you. But it's not so hot, Kat, that it's a problem. We put this in daycares for years, so kids play on it without a problem. We put it in parks, we put it in pet resorts.
Feet if they're barefoot.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even as hot as what you would consider a pool deck or a sun deck to be, or even the cool decks, what they call it.
Right.
So it's just a difference in, I think a lot of it more than anything is in our head, because we know it's,
it's what we're accustomed to.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you should not, of course, dealing with 4 puppies,
Mhm.
I'll give a shout out to Shout, because I use Shout for everything.
Yeah, right.
Everything.
Right.
And then I use my own essential oils and so forth with vinegar. But is there should we refrain from washing it with vinegar or anything like that?
Chlorine is not good. If you have a pool that
yeah.
overflows and chlorine is in it, you want to rinse it off as quick as possible. It will discolor it. Chlorine will.
No.
But other than that, I haven't. I mean, for example, if you had, there's one little weed that comes out. It's not so much on the north side. It's on west side, Katy area, prairie land. But it's called nutgrass. It's a little three sprig grass that comes up and falls over, and it flies in from the air. So it seeds from the air, and it takes very little to seed root into whatever. So because of the infill that's in our turf, sometimes that seed will fly in and settle and start growing just from the little bit of infill that's in my turf. Well, you don't want to pull that. If you do pull that, it's going to germinate around the area. So what you do is you hit it with Roundup, let it die, and then pull it. Roundup's not going to hurt our turf either. So if that gives you an idea about what you're talking about, there's not much that can hurt the turf. We use Roundup on it for those kinds of situations all the time.
And we can talk offline on that. I probably wouldn't use Roundup just because of chemicals and so forth. So there's got to be some kind of natural.
Everybody has their own.
I'm sure there's something natural, but that's good to know. Don't pull it.
Yes.
Little germ. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, most people don't. Most people don't when we talk about it. We figure it out because we've.
Well, hey Dan, if somebody, thank you again so much. We're at 10:37. Great information. I learned a lot because I didn't really give them the 3rd degree. My husband kind of took care of this.
Yes.
But if folks wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you if they don't want to, if they can't, they want information now and they can't wait till it goes on? You bet.
The best way is to just call me 281-808-3410, or you can email me at Dan, D-A-N, at thewoodlandsgrass.com.
Dan at thewoodlandsgrass.com. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. And
you bet, Kat. It was awesome. Thanks for having me. It was
awesome. Great information for me and folks who are watching this. Maybe you're not in the market or at this time, but share it with someone who you think might be, especially someone who has lots of paws to deal with.
That's right.
Or if you're working on your backyard paradise, as Dan calls it, and you want to up-level it to the next stage.
Yes, it's definitely the last thing that you'd want to do, but it's going to give you so much to benefit from it.
So much. And I'll be taking some videos and snippets of our yard and sharing it.
We can't wait to get in there.
We're excited. It's soon.
Yeah.
And if you have not signed up for our YouTube channel, please do. It's Tadao by Kat. Just go to YouTube and put Tadao by Kat. Hit the bell so you'll be notified with new content. We won't barrage you, but it'll just let you know there's new content. We have 49 episodes. If you or someone you know who runs a business, we love showcasing entrepreneurs as well as just local communities and businesses. We'd love to get you on as a guest or someone you know. And for the 50th episode, I'd love it for it to be someone to do with the exterior of our home, anything to do with the exterior. That can be so many things. So until next Friday, thank you so much. And just a reminder to stay hopeful, stay positive, and stay connected. And thank you so much for connecting with me and Dan today. And have a great weekend. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Y'all have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.